In 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome to Conversations with Dr. Heather and Friends. Hey, good morning, everyone. Happy Sunday. I am super excited because this is a very exciting live broadcast I'm doing today. So if you haven't already heard, I'm bringing on my very good friend Klaus from Austria, who runs a fantastic ski school and program. And with the pandemic, he and I have met, and we do some very fun collaborations. And this is actually going to be one of them that we're going to witness today. We're going to start looking at a ski video of one of his clients, and we're going to break it down for you today. Now, if you haven't joined us before, please do note that you want to give StreamYard permission to go ahead and allow you to kind of pop up on the screen, because we do want to say hi to those of you that are watching today. And if you are catching the replay, do hashtag replay and let us know. If you have questions or comments, do drop them into the comments box, because we're going to answer at least 5 people's questions today regarding skiing and some of the things that can do both on the land and on mountain to enhance their overall performance. So I want to give a big welcome to my very good friend Klaus, who's joining us today all the way from Austria. So good morning and good afternoon, Klaus. How are you?
I'm good, Heather. Thank you. Great from Austria.
So, Klaus, give us a little bit more background about who you are, kind of how you fell into this niche, and what makes you so different, because you are a pioneer actually in the ski industry when it comes to video analysis. So give us a little overview about you.
Yes, I'm a ski instructor for 20 years now, year-round, full-time. I started teaching skiing at age 16. And teaching skiing became really my passion. Studied sports and mathematics, and then got more and more into teaching skiing full time. And I spent 6 years in Mammoth Mountain, California, 6 winters there. And that's where I started to take things more seriously and started to film my first instructional, which I then published in 2007, parts of it on YouTube. And from then on, it then continued. So I could reach more and more people through my online videos. I then also went to New Zealand and ran a ski school there for 8 years. And I also started my camps in Austria, in New Zealand. And and so basically I would say how I'm different to other instructors is that I started to use the internet as a marketing channel quite early, and it worked out quite well for me. Yeah.
It's just so fascinating, and that's one of the neat things I think on how you and I connected, was just knowing that both of us were essentially working more virtually. And, a lot of people, I think, don't realize that, now with a more virtual platform, you can really be anywhere. And like we're going to take a look at one of your clients' videos today, it was surprising, because when I finally connected with him, all of a sudden it's like, okay, he's actually in New Jersey and I'm here in Connecticut and you're in Austria. So, again, it's just very fascinating how the internet has now allowed us to work just more globally, which is really fantastic. So, for those of you guys that don't know, I mean, Klaus and I actually just met pretty much within this past year, thanks to a mutual skiing group where I got this random email one morning from this gentleman saying, hey, can I post your post regarding some BOSU exercises? Which to this day, I was like, sure, I mean, go right ahead. Not really knowing all full details about what you do, and pretty much you being an expert in the field of skiing. So, which just led to us now starting to have these fun collaborations together which is super exciting for us. But tell people also too, what was something that kind of resonated with you, because obviously you had reached out to me, and you noticed something within either my writing or, kind of what I was starting to deliver that kind of resonated with you and your current client base.
Yeah, no, for me, what stood out was that I really liked the way you presented the content and how it was really to the point, and you could tell right away that you knew that you know what you're talking about and that people could easily use it. And I think it's one of the great things about the internet is how people can find you and how you can connect with skiers all over the world, and you can put yourself out there, and then people can decide if they trust you as an expert, or if they think, oh, I think he just fakes his accent, or he doesn't really know what he's talking about. So I think that what I try to provide for my clients as well is on my website, SOFASKI.com, I have a member area as well where I share content. And I want to also get them in touch with the right people there, so that I can recommend to them. Actually, the email address is wrong.
Oh, did I?
It's Klaus at SOFASKI.com. I don't think this one would work.
I will edit it now.
No, but that I can help them find someone that is really good in that field. And for me, offering online ski analysis as well, it is great to then be able to recommend them to you and recommend you to them and tell them, go and talk to Heather, and maybe she can help you with the Dryland side of things. And I have studied sports. I know a bit about how to train physically as well. But I think why not go to the real expert and get the best service you can? And I think that's how we work together really well. And I think that Karl, my client that we see today, is a really good example of how I'm doing the ski tech work with him, and then refer him to you for the other work.
Yeah. Well, so let's do this. We're going to start kind of getting into looking at the ski video next, really kind of breaking it down. Klaus is going to give like his full analysis. So if anyone does have comments or questions regarding what they're seeing on the ski video, do drop those comments in the comment box down below. So this way we can start addressing them. And then Klaus will start to answer some of those questions as we're going through the video here today. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to pull up the first video. I'm going to bring it up onto the screen, and there we go.
Can you actually see who is watching, Heather?
So right now, no, because people have to make sure they give permission to StreamYard.
All right, guys, give permission and send me a hello. I would like to see who is here. That's one of the things when you're doing online ski analysis, you talk to your computer and you don't have the people in front of you, which makes it a bit weird. Perfect, guys. So this is one of my online clients, and I'm going to just play the video at the start, so you can have a think about it. Imagine you're sitting on the chairlift and you watch him ski down the hill. Would you go over to him afterwards and say, "Nice turns, buddy"? What do you like about his turns? If you would be an instructor, what feedback would you give him? I have quite a few instructors that I work with as well. And we have this run now in slow motion to give you some more chance to look at it. And yeah, and also with the instructional videos, Heather, I don't know how that is for you, but also there it is quite an interesting situation that you send someone your video and you don't really know what they do with it. While if I teach someone on the mountain, then you can see in which direction it is going and you can make adjustments. So
yeah, that's probably the connection that does get lost a little bit, because you are leaving it up to the other individual to take full advantage of what you've put together in order to really help them.
And I think that's why the interactive part is so good as well, that people get back to me, ask questions, or use the member area to communicate things. This is another run here where Karl does some shorter turns. And Heather, if you now start the second video, then I'm going to start my little analysis show.
We're going to add this one.
Yeah.
Okay.
So no messages yet. Come on, guys, send me a message.
No pressure. No pressure.
No pressure. People in Yorkshire, send me a message. All right, guys. So looking at this run, it's been really good working with Karl. I think he's doing really well. He's keying some really nice round turns here. We see the run again uninterrupted. And what we like in a ski run, I think what makes skiing elegant is if we have nice, smooth, fluid movements. So it doesn't look like breakdance, but more like a waltz. And I think that's one thing that stands really out in this run here, how nice and rhythmic he's linking those turns. And if we have a look at the control phase, the second half of the turn, if you have a look at what the skis are doing, this is the easiest way to check how the performance is and what the skier, if the skier might be doing things right or wrong. We want to have the skis obviously stay parallel. We want the skis to do their job and ski a nice turn. And if we compare this last turn with this turn here, then we can see at the very end of the turn that there is a bit of a situation here, which mainly comes out if we slow things down here. But the situation that we have is that red line is showing that his skis are stemming out a bit and that from his balance, he's moving a bit too much over his inside leg. So if this would now be a real analysis, I would look at the faces of the people, and if they look at me blank, I would explain it a bit more. Heather, you look quite okay, so I'll keep going. Does that make sense, Heather?
Yes, no, it does. It does.
So this is quite a nice shot. You see the skis stay parallel. He's skiing, carving these turns nicely. He's in control, in balance the whole time. In a moment like this, you can see that he's a bit off balance. And if there would be some ice now, if that would be steeper, then if his outside ski would slide away even more, then he would fall even more on his right leg, which would then be something that the right leg would complain about. So when we ski, we always want to be in balance. We want to be in a situation where we can react if we hit something that we don't expect, if we hit an icy patch. We want to be able to move with the steepness, not to get pushed too far in the back or to the inside. So to sum it up, we see a difference in the turn in this side here compared to the other side. And on the other side, we see that he's falling too much on his inside leg. Oftentimes, the problems already start, or things already start at the beginning of the turn. So at the start of the turn here, if we watch what Karl is doing here to prepare his right-footed turns, we need to wait until we get to the right spot, which should come up soon. Here we go. Nope. Usually, the way I would do that live on my tablet, but we decided to use a ready-made analysis here because it's from the quality and easier. So what I want you to what I want to show you is that Karl is actually starting the turn to the one and the other side differently. And on the turn, so here we can, this is it. So here for the turn to the left, his right-footed turns, It's 118. We jump back to 114. We can see that he's moving more forward and more in the middle over on top of his skis here. He's getting in a position where it's easier for him to find the outside ski. That's it. So from here to there, he's now in a spot where he can consciously shift more weight on his outside, and where he can decide he's moving forward, and he can now, this makes it easier for him now to start to balance more over his outside ski.
I think, by looking at this too, hopefully people who are watching, even if they catch the replay, and guys, if you're catching the replay of this, do #replay, you're going to start to see how balance work really plays into ski performance. It's just so key here, because you need to make sure that each leg has, significant amount of, not just proprioception, but also to the quality of strength, which is something we're going to start talking about as well, because you just don't want to be, because it can happen. I mean, we see it happen all the time in running, but it can happen in skiing where one side of the body will take over, and that's not necessarily a good thing. And hopefully people are starting to see that as you're watching Klaus, really break down Karl's ski patterns here. And as he goes through, what you're seeing at each turn, which leg is taking over versus the leg that is not.
Yeah. So, and that's exactly what's going on here with Karl, is that he's getting himself more in the middle, and on the other side, he's rushing it a bit more to the inside of the turn. So here we can see a clearer forward movement where he's for a moment standing on both of his legs, and then afterwards decides to start to balance more over his outside, his right leg, which is this one here. And now coming up, we can see how he's initiating the turn to the other side. And there at the start of the turn, we can already see how he's moving not so much over both legs and in the middle, but already starts to move a little more to the inside of the turn over the leg that he's then going to use more afterwards. So here he's now starting to balance over his right. And now for the turn coming up, he's already in this moment has decided that he's going to use his right leg afterwards. So at the beginning of the turn, he's on this side already moving more to the inside there, because he's preferring his right leg over his left. So what we have seen in the second half of the turn come out as a stem already starts here at the turn initiation, where he's starting to move over that leg that he wants to use later in the turn more, and that's then part of the situation that we have here, that he favors his right leg, which is part of the reason why the outcome of his left-footed turns, the performance there is not as strong as on the other side. So we can see how he here in the course of the turn starts to sit down a bit more over his inside leg. That then leads the outside ski to start to slide away from him a bit and gets him in this situation. So that's what we identified, and Karl then said, yeah, Klaus, that's exactly right. I actually sometimes feel or felt like when I do a run, I'm using mainly my right leg, and my right leg gets really tired, and my left leg, I avoid it. And he told me that he actually had an injury there, and he then sent me this video of him doing that exercise here where he's trying to balance on his leg. And this is now the image that we can see in the mirror. So right now on this image, he's standing on his left leg, and we can see that he's a bit more shaky here on this side if you watch his pelvis. And soon we'll be able to see the other side. Now he's balancing on his right, and you can see that looks a lot more stable. So long story short, what we can see in his skiing is not so much a technical problem. It's actually something that is caused by him trying to avoid one of his legs, which then leads to the outcome that we can observe, that the outside ski stems away, that he falls too much on his inside. And that's then the moment when I told him, Karl, go and check in with Heather, and she will give you some good exercises where you can strengthen your left, and improve that side. So Heather, what were the things that you showed him?
Well, so, it was funny because when I met with Karl, and we did it, obviously virtually, it was funny because he had shown you already a balance exercise, which is actually like an orthopedic test where we're looking at certain muscle firing patterns. So, I thought it was interesting that instinctively he's like, okay, I'm going to try to do a balance exercise, which was actually given to him by his Pilates instructor. So, guys, if you are catching this, understand that, Karl is just an average individual. He's not nowhere near like, professional skier. He's our average individual. He's in his 50s, but he just loves to ski. Skiing is his recreational sport, and he wants to have longevity with it. So he's essentially using, Klaus to really enhance his overall performance for him so he can continue to enjoy skiing. So just kind of want to make sure you guys understood this. This is just, just like you and I, we're not, somebody who's going to be doing, trials and things of that nature. We just want to really get out and do what we love and what we're passionate about. So when I spoke to Karl, I off the bat had said to him, well, had you had any past history of injury? And he actually then expressed that he had a really bad bout of sciatica on that left side stemming back a couple of years ago. But then he had gone to PT various times, and then he had been working with a Pilates instructor and also a strength coach as well. But he could still see that even when he did cross-country skiing, he was noticing that, when you're cross-country skiing and you're trying to stay in those grooves, that left leg was starting to try to veer out to the side. So he was giving a lot of external rotation already at the hip. So he's putting pressure, he's putting tension on that piriformis muscle, which then, going back to the demonstration of him in the mirror, his glutes were not firing correctly. And also to, balance wise, his lower leg was, a lot more shaky because the ankle, the foot and ankle, which is something we talk about a lot, in skiing, is understanding what it means to have good ankle flex, how that plays into it, how the foot and ankle really translates from the ground up when we're looking at proprioception, balance work, how that's all going to work into things. So, right off the bat, as I was talking to Karl and I just let him, speak, he was already starting to knock off one and then the other in terms of what I was already predicting, which was history of, some type of SI joint, sciatica, low back pain, maybe piriformis involvement, definitely some instability issues. So he was just confirming them as I was speaking to him. And, I said to him too, if you started really working on some core work, which he's already started to do a little bit with the Pilates instructor, but if you really start focusing on that core and then focus on a lot more single leg movement patterns, you're going to start to notice that you're going to want to go ahead and utilize that left side. Now, granted though, the only bad thing here is when we have a chronic issue, a lot of times our subconscious steps in. And even though we may have built up that weaker side, we still kind of gravitate and go to that dominant side because we're just protective. So it does take a while to practice, but that would be something. And I mentioned that to all of my runners when I work with them as well. You do want to, once we start building up that weaker side, you want to test it out. You want to see, you want to kind of rely on it. You want to strengthen, work on it. So, here, if he's going to be doing some more skiing this year, which on the East Coast, we're definitely having some nice winter storm weathers, it would be to tell him, hey, listen, start practicing not going more to the right, but actually going to the left, and really starting to see what you notice there, how that leg is feeling. Plus also too, Karl told me as well, he noticed that his legs would actually get tired and fatigued a lot more. And that was also because he was trying to engage his hip flexors versus his quads. And again, really kind of going back to that balance oriented work. So it was just very fascinating. Once I actually talked to him, he was already reconfirming what Klaus had shown me in the ski video and kind of what was starting to be depicted. And then it was like, okay, well, where do we begin with the Dryland work? And that's what we're going to start to talk about a little bit now, is what will we do with the Dryland? So I'm going to pull up a video that I had put together specifically for this as well. And we're just going to mute it. So if you haven't known or you haven't seen some of my videos, you're going to see that I actually use a lot of different things to really kind of help in working the body, nice a lot. Rotational moves. And let's see if it's if the video, let me take it off. We'll switch it back on in a sec. I'm going to re-add, I think. I'm going to pull it back up. Hang on one sec. So if you haven't seen before some of the stuff that I do, I do work a lot with balance. I work a lot with functional training, functional movement patterns, and so forth. So, and it's just having trouble loading. Klaus, I'm going to pull off one of the videos. So that might be one of the issues. I'm going to pull off the first one. Nope, I don't want to kick it.
Well, then I can do that too. I just took one off.
All right, so let me go back. I'm going to share. Might need to take a second. So I do a lot with more functional training, looking at the BOSU, looking at the TRX, and also something else I've been integrating in a lot with skiing is the rip trainer as well, because what we want to do is focus on what's called asymmetrical styles of training, which can really translate a lot more when it comes to skiing, because we are now we've got not just weather conditions, but you've got different terrain. Maybe you are going over more bumps and things of that nature. Maybe you are experiencing more difficulty with ice and so forth. So when kind of doing some Dryland work and you're here we are, at my studio here in Connecticut, and you can see I'm using the rip trainer. I have a bungee cord on one side of the body. I first kind of always just warm up the body with some squats, just trying to get the legs, engaged, but then working rotational patterns here to really allow for the body to feel what it's like to kind of be pulling or moving to one side. And then I getting a little bit more explosive with a dynamic move as well. But then here we go. And every skier really should have a BOSU. I think that would enhance skiing just overall in general. Again, always doing a basic move to warm up the body, starting with some nice easy squats, keeping the chest up, and then focusing really on balance here. And unfortunately, my dog likes to think that balance means he gets to play with the BOSU as well. But then again, getting more dynamic by allowing each leg to work independently by getting explosive with a little bit of a hop over. And then I actually put in this one as well, where now I have 2 feet on the BOSU and I'm staying in a nice tucked position, and I'm really allowing both legs to work, heavily in an explosive move. But then we're flipping the BOSU over and also working a lot more just on balance. Ankle mobility comes into play here. Really starting to work into single leg toe touches as well, glute, quad, calf firing patterns, getting the shin to fire as well. So, really starting to engage the legs a lot more. So that's just a little snippet of some of the land work that you can do that can really start to help when you have some of these issues. And, if you are experiencing, just some issues where it's chronic low back pain, sciatica, even some piriformis involvement, definitely addressing the core first will be the main focus, but then really getting into those balance exercises because again, it is a lot about glute med firing patterns. It's getting the hamstring, the quad, everything to really connect. It's so important because then you're just going to see a difference with those turns and what's going to happen and how you're going to go ahead and allow for the weight to disperse, on both of the legs evenly. So, that was my recommendation to him. I mean, it did sound like Karl too has a good little team behind him right now. And I had offered to actually speak to his strength coach as well as his Pilates instructor, because again, it's very important, guys, if you are working with some people already, that you really make sure they are all communicating together, because then it's going to help your overall performance, because this is really about you. And if you want to see your own personal performance increase better, it's important, like Klaus and I do, we talk to each other because we want to make sure that your experience is the right one. We want to make sure that we're really informing and giving you all the tools necessary so you can be successful. I mean, that's really what it's all about. But those were just a little bit of some of the Dryland work that you can start to do to really kind of help there. I mean, there's so much more. And I know, Klaus, on your group and on your website, you've shared, various different types of exercises I've done with the therapy ball, with the BOSU, to enhance ski performance as well. And I know, Klaus, we're going to also show what you have done on the mountain, because there are some things that you can do on the mountain as well. Yeah.
And Heather, another thing to add, I think for myself, as soon as I have my ski technical goal in my head, when I then do the workout as well, I think I do the workout quite differently already. So I think if I do an online analysis for someone and people then are aware, I need to be careful with this or that. And then in the training, you can already visualize your turns, and as you train, already sync some turns while you're working on the different areas. Yeah,
exactly.
So do you want to bring up the on snow action?
Yeah. So here
Just
is
another article.
Klaus giving some demos.
So I had made a little video on the different warm-up exercises and the things that we do at the beginning of a ski day to again also there make ourselves aware of the different areas. Already with the warm-up, try to get our head around the things that we want to focus on. We have many returning clients that already know I need to watch my left side, or I have this or that focus. So little things like this at the beginning, which are quite similar to what we do when we ski, that we build up, that we balance over the leg, build up the pressure, and then push off it again, that we stay stable with the upper body at the same time, similar to the rotational work that you've done, that I push off, but at the same time don't work too much with the upper body. Then things like this, where we start to focus on upper body, lower body separation, that we're able to turn the legs, but not let the pelvis and the upper body come around. Things like this here. And also there, we even let people walk through the turn so that they can just think about what they do in the different turn phases. And I think it's quite similar to, if we take it back to what we showed with Karl, that from the morning, I'm already starting to activate the muscles that I then want to use as well afterwards. We now jump back to the analysis. Shall we maybe finish up the rest? I think another interesting point here, Heather, that I would like to add is the putting the pieces together. So when we identify why someone is skiing a certain way, that there might be some history with injury, and what you also then mentioned afterwards, there might not be any pain anymore, but we have learned to avoid that side, or we have learned to move in a different way. And that's then often what we're doing in the on snow ski tech work, that it's actually learning how to ski, reprogramming the movements again, so that we stop to do the moves that we started because we tried to avoid the pain, or we tried to avoid a certain situation. And so for Karl's improvement, the biggest thing is going to be to change the way he gets the turn started here, because that was his way of avoiding to use his left leg, his outside ski, already early in the turn. And I think that's then the next very interesting part for the on-snow training, to be aware of your body and your balance a bit more, and then to also try to relearn and get the movements back to being balanced and clean.
I agree.
And I think, yeah, that's probably a lot that you do as well with in the gym, same thing, right?
Oh yeah. Well, and so when people are watching, if they catch the replay, and again, guys, if you're catching the replay, hashtag replay down below. If you look at what Klaus was doing on the mountain, how much of that is very similar to what we do on dry land work, you can see the correlation. But then readdressing as well, when we do have had, or I should say, when we've had past injuries, it is very difficult to get our mind wrapped around the fact that we need to trust that leg. It takes some time. So don't be expecting that if you do the dry land work, you're doing the stuff on the mountain, that, you should see remarkable performance increase fast. It does take some time. So do be patient, give it the time that it needs, be very diligent about your work in terms of the stuff that you're doing on the land and on the mountain. And really take full advantage, if you are working with Klaus, take full advantage of the fact of, what he's sharing and how he's seeing, improvement and what still needs to be done, because that's going to just help you even further.
Yeah. And it's probably doing similar drills or similar exercises that you did in the Dryland as part of your warm-up routine is probably going to be a good one as well. Yeah. So that you are able to make that transfer, and you remind yourself, I can do it there. Now I just have to do it on snow as well. So for Karl, then the further program talking about relearning and technical focuses then for the skiing, because in most of these cases, people are actually already pain-free. The muscle is there, so there's not really a reason to ski these two sides differently. And what I point out here is he's able to ski a nice round turn shape on his right footers, and more of a much more of a pushing out and more of a less round turn on this side here. So trying to find the balance over the outside early, trying to get the pull over the front part of the ski, and making the inside light as he goes through the turn while balancing more on the other one. These are then things that we would do in the on-snow training.
Excellent.
Yeah. So yeah.
So what I was going to say is, so guys, if you do have any questions, do start dropping them down below. I know this is a lot of information, so if you are going to catch the replay, do drop comments down below if you have specific questions. I'm going to pull up, I'm going to go ahead and switch over. And if you want to contact Klaus, here is the right email address.
Here we go.
Do feel free to reach out to him. He's a resource of great knowledge as well. And, now I think you can have a better understanding of how we work together. It's really, more or less just trying to make sure, you as the individual, as you get ready to continue your ski journey, that you feel very comfortable with it, and you understand that even if you're not in pain, doesn't mean that a prior injury couldn't be creating some problems, because this is something I talk about a lot with what I do in terms of the sports chiropractic aspect, is looking at muscle firing patterns and looking at muscle imbalances, because they do play a huge role in how we do things, whether it's skiing, swimming, riding a bike, running. They do transform themselves into other kind of compensating movement patterns. So we want to make sure that our body is set. We want to make sure that everything is working together, that it's, you know, a very synergistic effect. It's very, very important. So, you know, with that, guys, we're going to start to wrap up a little bit here today. We do hope that you found some great value in this, and you got some insight here as well. And like I said, you know, you're going to catch the replay on all the different social media channels. So do leave some comments, because like I said, this is a lot of information. You might want to kind of just take a look at some of those videos that Klaus has been sharing, watching his clients ski, kind of saying, hey, you know, I noticed this, what would you have done differently? Because I do know that some of the, you know, ski groups that we belong to, people have been asking questions about being more one-sided dominant. And this is some of the stuff that we're talking about and addressing today is, you know, what happens when you do notice that one side of the body is doing a lot better than the other. And then what can you do from there? So we do hope that you had some really great value today in this. And, you know, if you have further questions, like I said, you can reach out to Klaus. If you want to reach out to me, if you want to get a free consult with me, please do go ahead, visit the webpage as well. And I'm happy to talk to anyone. If you know Klaus, if you're a friend of Klaus, I'm also happy to give you a free consult as well, and just kind of talk to you a little bit more about what's going on. And I might not be able to give you all the great jokes that Klaus can give with his sense of humor, but I promise to give you as much attention as I possibly can. Well, you know, Klaus, this has been wonderful. I'm so happy that you were able to do this with me today. I really hope a lot of people get some really good value out of this as well. Do you have any words of wisdom that you want to share as we wrap things up today?
I was just thinking really hard about a good joke, but I can't think of one. No, Heather, thank you very much. It was great. And I hope we can continue to work together a lot. And I think that it is really the getting all the pieces right and getting the ski tech work as well as the Dryland, the physiotherapy right. I think it's great to that my clients have that resource, and thank you for sharing so much good information as well. What's the name of your dog?
Oh, that's Cab. It's short for Cabernet. Obviously we're into wines, but so Cab does like to make his appearance with all balance videos. He thinks it's the perfect time to jump on the Bosu himself to demonstrate how he can balance with 4 legs versus mommy with 1. But he does love the snow as well. He's very much a snow dog, which has been great. But, and guys, you know, do check out in March. I'm going to have another good friend of mine, Chris, who does a lot with endurance sports. He is a professional cyclist, and we're going to talk about his 4 pillars in terms of looking at endurance sports and training. So we've got some really great stuff coming up too in March as well. But, you know, this isn't the last that you're going to see of Klaus and I either. So we're going to be doing some other fun things together. So do pay attention on social media for both of us as well. And guys, it's been an absolute pleasure today. Klaus, enjoy the rest of your afternoon and evening. And thank you so much for being here with me.
Thank you, Heather.
All right.
Have a nice evening.
Have a great rest of the day. Happy Sunday to everyone.
Bye-bye.